So much for any beef between James Harden and Joel Embiid, because despite whatever it is, James Harden had to put together his top 5, his starting lineup.
Game, respect, game.
Of his teammates. Joel Embiid was the first name that he mentioned, and we're going to discuss that on the opposite side with Joel Embiid and his teammates right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, coming to you live from the Xfinity Lounge here on this Tuesday.
Beautiful day in the Xfinity Lounge.
It's a beautiful day in the Xfinity Lounge, along with Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens. Bree is here, President of Basketball Operations. All of you in the chat. And yes, we are back at it as we hang out with you on this Tuesday, and we will be discussing Joel Embiid's top 5 teammates by position as we go through his entire career as a Sixer and who should make that list. We want yours, of course, active in the chat as always. We can't wait to get started on it. But first, we do have to continue to tell you that, number one, let's say about the new T-shirt drop that we have with the Phillies sitting there in first place in the National League East and acquiring Johan Duran. Well, you got the Durantula, the fantastic Durantula new T-shirt release at ALLPHLY.com. Hit the merch section and the drop button right there, and you go to the merch section, and you'll see our very new and fresh T-shirt as you get ready for the postseason for the Phillies. And, of course, that great introduction that Duran has as he enters the game to close out things 4 for 4 in terms of saves. He has been fantastic. Hopefully that continues all the way through as we get ready for October playoff baseball for the Phillies. So do so once again at allphly.com. Go check it out. Check out the new shirt. Look it over. Get your size. Order it. And get ready for the playoff baseball season. Also, still going on, Kyle. Football season. Training camp deal. $36 at allphly.com to become a diehard member. I was talking to someone last night at the Rumph Classic, and they were asking me about it, and I said, easy. Just go sign up, allphly.com, and do so right now. It's $36. It's not $79.99. It's $36.
It's a good deal.
It's the Westbrook number right there. Training camp intro offer. Sign up, become a diehard member. You get a free T-shirt to go along with it. Access to the Discord. First access to the events that we have. All the diehard events. We're going to tell you about one of those a little bit later. And in order to be a part of our events here at allphly.com at ALLCITY, and of course here with the PHLY network, got to be a diehard member. So make sure you go sign up. Intro offer, $36. All right, Kyle, let's get to it, man, because James Harden was on, what was it, Bleacher Report? I think it was Bleacher Report.
Some form of live stream, that's all I know. I didn't do enough research on exactly where he was sitting in a room talking basketball.
He's talking basketball, and the person that was on the podcast with him asked him his starting 5, including himself, starting 5 of his teammates by position. And he went through, of course, the teammates that he had. And he also pointed out that, man, when he got to the point guard spot, he's like, man, I got Chris Paul, I got Russell Westbrook, so on and so forth. How am I going to do this? Kyrie Irving as well. Well, we're going to have to do that ourselves here today for Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, 9 full seasons on the floor for the Sixers?
Well, full is
I just mean, all right, fair. 9.
We'll use the word full loosely.
9 actually playing in a uniform for the Sixers out there on the floor. And we wanted to go through the teammates that he has had and put together a starting 5 for Joel Embiid. It's not as simple as you may think. As Kyle and I were briefly talking about it, we didn't necessarily come down to a concrete 5. We were just more of, man, this one's pretty good here. How about this one? We might differ on a few, but eventually we got to come together and put together a starting 5. Bree is, of course, here with us. We'll do the same. And we're going to add a head coach, everybody, so get ready for that. So, Kyle, let's get to it. Should we start off with the point guard position?
You have to.
Got to start
and
off
I think this one is
position.
the hardest one,
It
honestly.
is. It is. So, Money Mart has his in there. Tehran also has the 5 in there as well with Embiid, certainly at the 5, but we're also going to go with the backup 5 because Embiid is Embiid. We'll go with the backup 5 to see what it looks like behind him. So, all right. Let's get to it. Starting with the point guard position. Did we go with 2-5 on this one?
So I am not going with 2-5, but what I would say is that I do think I am one of the faces of the I'm done with Ben Simmons movement that emerged in Philadelphia, right? And certainly as people have been like, bring Ben back on a minimum, I have pushed back against that many times over. But if you're just talking about what they achieved and how they played next to Joel Embiid during their time in Philadelphia, right? Because we're not talking about because if it was MVP James Harden, there's no discussion here, right? This is strictly what did you do in a Sixers uniform? And Ben, for his issues in the playoffs and his issues just in general, he had a hell of a start to his career, right? Multi-time All-Star. He was Rookie of the Year. He was first team All Defense in back-to-back years. He was top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2019-20. And although the offensive stuff was not a clean fit, I should say, next to Joel Embiid, defensively, it allowed Joel to be the best Joel could be on that end. The rebounding that he provided at that position is something that allowed them to do different things with lineups and the roster that had some, downstream positive effects on how the team was constructed. And the body of work and overall resume, just in terms of the accolades, is superior. But James Harden is my guy here pretty easily, because even though it was not peak James Harden, even though it was, it was post hamstring injury in Brooklyn and was not an all-star during the time that he was here in Philadelphia, the synergy and the chemistry that they established was so good on offense. And I think his ability to just completely control the game with or without Joel, like the fact that they were able to, I think they were 11-5, the 54 win season in 2023 when Joel won MVP. I believe they were 11-5 without Joel, largely because you could turn the team over to James Harden and you could trust that he was going to, put together a coherent offense, score somewhere between 24 to 30 points, probably get 8 to 10 assists, and empower Maxey, empower the bigs. We saw him get a lot out of their backup centers, right? Paul Reed looked really good in part because James Harden is spoon feeding him a lot of stuff, as he has a lot of other bigs over the years. And most importantly here, the big separator, and I know this is crazy to say because James Harden's playoff track record, not exactly sterling, and it wasn't in Philadelphia. James Harden straight up won them second round games, right? He went into the Garden, the Boston Garden, I should say, game 1 of that second round series, won them that game. Back home in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid has a pretty poor fourth quarter and overtime in, game 4? And James Harden snatches that game and says, we are not losing this one. And that gives them the floor to go into game 5 and win a really important game there. So for me, it's James Harden. There are defensive issues. There are off-court and lifestyle things that were not perfect, although Ben wasn't perfect there either. But give me Harden, and I think it's pretty easy.
I'll make the case here, at least for Ben Simmons, because of we just simply cannot ignore that. Yes, that one playoff series that they had against the Boston Celtics, that run where they got to the second round, it was fantastic with what he did. 1 in 4 was it, and then of course in Game 5 he played a phenomenal floor game, and Game 6 and 7 did absolutely nothing for them. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he was fantastic when he was in fact out there with Joel Embiid. So, and he was the best point guard, to your point, with Joel, because that was the one thing that I did have against Simmons that was a knock, that he didn't get him easy enough looks out there on the floor with him. But I believe they played 4 seasons together, Simmons and Embiid, and second round, advancing to the second round in those seasons. Some really highly competitive games, certainly the Toronto Raptors game that we know about, and a few others, the Atlanta Hawks series as well, where they were the number 1 seed that year. And his best years were also running next to Joel Embiid. Since then, he has not done anything to duplicate any type of performance that we saw from Ben Simmons in the Philadelphia 76ers uniform, and that was next to Joel Embiid. Yes, he's done that off of Joel Embiid, but he also did so by himself, as we highlight, what was it, the 17-18 run where Embiid was injured, and he had helped the Sixers catapult themselves into that,
And the 1920 season, very similar, not at the end of the year, but they had the long winning streak in 17-18.
17-game winning streak.
And then when Horford was there in 1920, Joel was out for a bit, and Ben had probably his best individual stretch of basketball that he ever played. And so his ability to, all right, the team is going to look different, we're going to play differently, but I can sort of, like, the team can mold around me. He definitely had that in his bag for sure.
Ben Simmons made All-NBA. Ben Simmons made All-Defensive. And Ben Simmons made 3 All-Star teams, I believe, during that time alongside Joel Embiid. Now, while James Harden only had a year and a half to play with Joel Embiid from the trade deadline, and then that next season that we know finished off with the Boston exit, Ben Simmons had a fantastic run next to him. So a lot of that, of course, is him individually and team success, but it's also playing off of its build behind those two. There were arguments of, hey, if they can't play together, one of them has to go. And there were many supporters of Ben Simmons saying, this is his team. So if that's my argument, that will be my argument for Ben Simmons in this case, as being the point guard of this team, because of the 4 years that they played together. They were in the second round every year. Well, the bubble one doesn't count, but the other time.
He was hurt.
And he was hurt, yeah. So, but every other time they were in the second round. Yes, they did get knocked off in the second round. They did not advance, but you're also looking at the fact that building around those two, it wasn't a question at all of how good those two young guys looked around the league as two cornerstones for this franchise for many years to come. And it's going to be very difficult to beat Philadelphia with both of those teams. So while it is a knock on Harden that he had a year and a half, it's a bonus that you do have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid for those 4 years together. And there were a lot of games won and some playoff games, not enough, a lot of games won, a lot of fun basketball with them. So I don't know how we break this tie here if I'm going to go with Ben Simmons in this case. But I just look at Simmons and I think.
I mean, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be. I can just say I'm taking James Harden, and you can pick whoever you want. No one's. We're not having a vote here. We're just talking through it.
Right. So, and I do give Harden. I do give him clearly the edge of point guard, and doing so as far as getting Embiid some better looks, better version of Joel, because of the pick and roll that they were able to run, which they couldn't do with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It just wasn't a thing. It just wasn't happening. So for this one, I you know what? I will go 25 on this. So I will go Ben Simmons on this one while you go James Harden for this one. That Ben Simmons does not exist anymore, and we saw him at his best here in Philadelphia. So I'll lean Simmons in this one and give him the slight edge over James Harden. Is there any other candidate that is worth mentioning?
I mean, there are other guys who handled the ball, but I wouldn't consider them point guards. I think we're actually probably going to go through all them at shooting guard. There's a bunch of guys in a little bit of a interesting spot. The other positions are not going to be quite as difficult. But again, to your point, I do think that Ben's body of work here, and then you also add Joel just wasn't as good during that time, right? Like Joel, when James Harden arrived here, had already evolved to a point that offensively, he was so much better than he was in like 17, 18, 18, 19, right? And a little bit of that is how they were using him. They're not just putting him on the block as much. Some of that is just the natural growth and the work with trainers and whatnot. But I also would say that Ben Simmons and his style, and by style, I mean his refusal to shoot the basketball, it is limiting how you can run the offense in some ways, right?
Sure.
And to a lesser extent, we saw that with other role players, right? Like Matisse Thybulle is someone you would put in down in the honorable mention of probably whatever, small forward shooting guard, not going to be near the top of the list, but as someone further down the list as guys who had decent moments here. But Matisse for me was someone that I I think was well overrated, because while defensively he was incredible, if Joel was posting up or Joel's trying to catch the ball in the middle of the floor, Matisse's defender in the corner is just going to sit there and dare him to shoot, right? And so while Ben had a lot more tools in the bag than Matisse did, I'm not comparing them as like a one-to-one thing, but I think there were works of those early teams and issues that Joel had that while he owns a lot of them because they've persisted, there were some issues that Ben contributed to that you could see that once he moved on and played with a James Harden, a Tyrese Maxey, who were more, hand in glove fits, playing alongside Joel as like a lead ball handler.
Yeah. So I saw that someone said in the chat that Joel Embiid won the MVP with James Harden. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. He also, let's not forget though, when Joel was with, we could even argue that some of his better years were with Ben, like the 18-19 year where he averaged 27.5, which we've been talking about for the time that we've been here at PHLY together, of 27.5, 13.6 rebounds, and the block shots that go along with it. The assist numbers have improved as he's matured as a basketball player, as an offensive player, understanding the double teams and making those passes and things. But he was also playing 64 games, 33 minutes a night, putting up those types of numbers, and his three-point percentage improving. And when James Harden got here, yeah, it's undeniable of what he did. But before James Harden got here, he was also the runner-up 2 years in a row of being the MVP for the NBA. So, yes, he helped him get there, but it was also that the league just had to finally give him the trophy with it. So, yes, James Harden, by connection, helped him get that MVP, but let's not exclude that 18-19 version of Embiid and Simmons together, nasty combination that they were.
That's why they were able to push Toronto, right? And that was with Ben being a complete non-factor offensively for that entire second round, right?
Yeah.
Or the majority of the second round.
And when you talk about the clunkiness of the offense, how many times did we sit here, you had to write, or I had to talk about on the radio with James Harden of, he's dribbling the air out of the ball too much. Yes, the stuff was great with the pick and pop and making the passes and finding
You're still not going to talk me off of James Harden.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm bringing it up of, hey, we're going to talk about the Ben Simmons stuff, but let's not act like we didn't talk to you all where you were complaining about the things that James Harden did with the basketball as well. Not catching and shooting. He had to put the ball on the floor and do all this other stuff. The step backs, the lack of defense that he didn't play as well, as strong as he was, and he wouldn't let guys just simply bully him. So there's some, let's not forget, just because James Harden left, of how we talked about him a little bit as part of the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, we did so much on the point guard position. I went with Ben Simmons. Kyle went with James Harden. We got to move on and go to the two guard. And who's the best two guard? This one's interesting because there are a lot of names that we discussed as possibilities for the shooting guard position. We're going to get to those on the other side as we hang out with you, trying to put together the best starting five of teammates for Joel Embiid. So far, Ben Simmons and James Harden at the point guard position. Who's at the two for the Sixers?
With all due respect to Raul Neto, Alec Burks. Well, he's not really a point guard, but that's what he would play. I'm trying to think of the backups. Ish Smith. TJ. TJ honestly might be third.
I think.
If we're just talking about true point guards.
You're right. Yeah, because George Hill, no. I think
Shake Milton.
Yes, because he was here long enough to be in the conversation, but TJ would get my nod over Shake Milton.
TJ be third here.
Yeah. Where's Furkan fall? Maybe he's in the shooting guard.
Point Furk.
We'll talk about it on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics. And I got to tell you, folks, as the summer's winding down, don't let it go away so fast. Make sure you go out there and continue to have a good time. The weather's warm again, and maybe you want to get inside and maybe hang out a little bit with some of your people and stay cool. You can do so at Parks Casino at the Excite Center. Yes, the Excite Center, where I have been, where many of you have been. Maybe you haven't. Well, first of all, It's one of many things that I love to do with my casino of choice at Parks Casino, which is visit the Excite Center. It's very easy to get to. All you have to do, it's located in Bensalem. Take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino and so close to Pennsylvania and Philadelphia based on everything that I just laid out for you. The Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment center and venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best places to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. All you have to go is to visit parkscasino.com. Check out the full schedule of talent and what's going to happen on any particular night, given any given week. Buy tickets for all the shows. Pre-game the shows at their amazing beer garden. It's a fantastic spot. Play some pop culture slots, roulettes, cards, other table games that you love while you wait. And while you wait, it's a very easy walk to get right over to the Excite Center. Also, while you wait, maybe you want to hit a few of the restaurants, get some grub, have some food before you go in and check out the great show that you're going to witness there at Parks Casino. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge, I want to help you out with a 5-year price guarantee from our new friends at Xfinity. Because life is unpredictable, but the price of your internet shouldn't be. Get a reliable price for a reliable connection. All in means all in. That means Wi-Fi, equipment, and unlimited data included. The 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity, one internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Change is always happening. I said to Devon before the show, we don't know what era of the Taylor Swift Eras tour or Eras movement it'll be. She just announced something last night.
Yes, she did.
Songs get rewritten. Bands and artists come and go who are not named Taylor Swift. But no matter what changes in the next 5 years, the price of your internet will stay the same. So learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here, presented by the great people at Rumph Orthopedics as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge. All right, let's get to the shooting guard position. Let's get it rolling, man, because we got a lot of names, I think, to talk about in this one. And we'll start off with, where does J.J. Redick fit into this category?
Number 2.
J.J. Redick is 2 years here with the Sixers, played 70 and 76 games, year 1 and year 2. He averaged 17.1 in year 1, 18.1 in year 2. Shot 42% from 3 in year 1, 39.7 in year 2. And the other stuff, rebounds and assists, of course, we know that's not necessarily what it's all about with J.J. Redick. But arguably before, the guy that we are both going to agree on at number 1 was talked about as the best partner that he has had at the shooting guard position before we get into who we have at number 1. J.J. Redick with Joel Embiid was phenomenal.
Yeah, so J.J. essentially set the blueprint for this is a type of player that can achieve great things with Joel Embiid, right? Because J.J. had a real strong run there prior to Philadelphia, playing in L.A., playing next to Chris Paul, with Blake Griffin, with DeAndre Jordan, that he was the guy that afforded them that space in the middle of the floor. They would run him off screens, run him off movement, and the threat of him coming around a screen at any given time allowed those guys to set up in the middle of the floor, right? And so we thought of him as pure release valve player, pure off-ball player. And like it still was a mostly off-ball player in Philadelphia, but did a lot of two-man game with Joel Embiid that set the stage for a lot of other guys, right? Seth Curry, another guy that would be on the short list for this, right? Comes in and you operate from the free throw line extended. It's just that cat and mouse. I'm reading the defender and how they're playing this dribble handoff that we're going through. You go one way, I go this way. If they overplay on JJ, then Joel ducks in and he might get an open lane to the basket. And just a really rock solid, very good player on some very good teams there. But ultimately, he is the second best guy here because Tyrese Maxey took all of that, right? All the dribble handoff stuff, all the two-man game, And then he added Tyrese Maxey's downhill speed, Tyrese Maxey's ability to shoot more prolifically off the dribble, right? So you can have him pulling up from 28 to 30 feet. If teams are going under, teams are overplaying Joel. It's like, okay, you're going to give me that shot. I'm going to take it. He watched James Harden running the point next to Joel Embiid and saw when he won that MVP, he's hitting that pocket pass, hitting that pocket pass, hitting that pocket pass. And Tyrese morphed into more of that lead guard, right? So it's almost unfair to be like shooting guard because Tyrese has been he's been a true combo guard.
Yes, he has.
Where depending on the team, he has played different roles. But I think that's why he's such a no-brainer selection here, right? Because next to James Harden, who was the guy I want at point guard of the guys that have been on the team, Tyrese's off-ball ability was as dynamic and as prolific as it has been during his time in Philadelphia. I could pull up the exact numbers, but I want to say when James Harden arrived here, the second half of 2022, I always hate using second half because it's really more like 2 months or a month and a half, whatever it is, post All-Star break. Tyrese Maxey shot like 45 to 50% from three because it was James Harden and Joel Embiid just pulling everyone toward them in the middle of the floor. And Maxey was just getting open look after open look and killing teams, right? And so for me, the versatility that he has as a combo guard, when you have a guy who's that lead playmaker who you trust as that guy sets the table, gets everyone involved, gets big fella his shots, there has been no one better than Tyrese Maxey in that role. And like, I think it'd be hard to argue for anyone else here, honestly.
It's clearly Tyrese Maxey in this role, and that one's not up for debate. Respect to what J.J. Redick did for those 2 seasons. He was fantastic playing off of Joel Embiid again, 2 career years. But as Kyle mentioned, in those 4 years prior, he was really, really good as a release valve for that Los Angeles Clippers team that made some deep runs in the Western Conference. Actually disappointing because of how good they were, and he was a big part of that. And what
they
happened.
were essentially what the Sixers ended up becoming, where it was like every year it felt like, hey, time for the Clippers to break through.
Second round.
Nope.
Second round for that Clippers team. So Tyrese Maxey easily at number 1 there for the shooting guard
some good,
position.
like a bunch of good players.
So that's where I was going. After J.J. Redick, we also discussed Seth Curry. Career year off of Joel Embiid. Couldn't dribble the basketball, couldn't defend, but boy, could he shoot. And he made the best of it by playing off of Joel.
Yeah, like he
made the most of it.
He established in many ways like a better version of the JJ combo because he had more of the in-between mid-range stuff, or at least that Doc empowered him to use that. And so you got the 3-point shooting, albeit I would have liked him to shoot more threes. That was a whole different problem. Like I've never seen someone who's as good of a shooter as Seth Curry was, who would step out of as many threes as he did. Like just kind of broke my brain a little bit. But he did have a little bit of the in between. Like I'll
hit that good. I mean, I didn't mind it because oftentimes the percentage was really high in those mid range shots.
Yeah. Now the problem for Seth was he was a tragic defender, just absolutely tragic.
The best and worst of Seth Curry is in Game 7 against the Atlanta Hawks at home.
Exactly.
He's dropping 27, but he's giving up 27.
And look, he had, I think people forget now, but during that, I want to say the Game 5, where I'm pretty sure the first half was like all Seth Curry and Joel Embiid. It was those 2 guys just absolutely destroyed Atlanta. It's like, oh, this series is over, man. These guys are tearing them apart. They finally, this is the number 1 seed that we saw in the regular season. And surely old Lou Williams is not going to come through it as a bench player, having done almost nothing in the series up to this point and tear them up. But he had some real moments in that series offensively where he was just going crazy, and he really used the gravity of Joel Embiid as effectively as any non-star players they've had. So I honestly think he's a little bit close to JJ, right? Like, I don't think...
Not for me.
I honestly, like, the offense was that good, but I think JJ despite not being a good defender, he was at least like, I can trust he's going to be in mostly the right spots.
Yep. That was,
and I think in playoff moments, that showed up a lot more. Albeit in 2018,
the 2 seasons
he got killed in that Celtics series.
Yes,
so
he did.
Depends on the matchup.
The 2 seasons with the Sixers, it was his points per game, 12.5 and then 15 for him. He shot 45 from 3 and 40 from 3 in those 2 seasons. So just on fire from beyond. I trusted JJ Redick so much 100%. More, and that's why it's not even close. I know Seth Curry works out. I know Seth Curry gets ready for the season. I've said this before. His body language always bothered me. And that
he was kind of a weird guy on that front for sure.
And that dates back to his collegiate days, to his professional days in Portland and Dallas, and then with the Sixers, the drop shoulders, things of that nature. Putting the ball on the floor was always, if it wasn't just simply getting to that mid-range pull-up that Kyle was talking about, it was an adventure. And JJ Redick knew exactly who he was. He wasn't going out of his comfort zone, and therefore that's where you would get, he would make mistakes, because sometimes you could see where he would make the mistake. He would be mad at himself for turning the ball over. Seth Curry, though, with the body language would drive me crazy, and then trying to sometimes dribble a little bit too much where I felt like it just wasn't his thing. And while he was a movement guy, he could relocate, he can do all those things. Defensively, man, it was just a disaster. And again, that Kevin Huerter game in Game 7, he couldn't stay on the floor as good as he was offensively in that game. He had to come out because they were hunting him, and it wasn't even close. Yes, Kevin Huerter can catch fire, but it would help a little bit if the guy that they were hunting was trying a little bit harder to slow things down.
So, by the way, I actually misremembered this. I flipped it. So Seth had a fine first half in that Game 5 against Atlanta. He went bonkers in the second half. He's the only guy that showed up. He had 25 points in the second half of that game. He was 9 for 12, 4 of 6 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Somehow had 4 rebounds, by the way, which like Seth Curry rebounding the ball just doesn't seem like a thing that ever really. But he had a monster game. I think he scored, let's see, final line, Game 5 versus Atlanta, which PTSD warning for anybody who's just stumbling in here. 36 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals on 13 of 19 from the field.
Yeah,
that's a game.
You look at
man.
those. You look at those
you
game
get
logs.
36 from Seth Curry. In a home playoff
you have to
game.
win that game.
You gotta win.
You gotta win that game. And Sandman says, "What in the playoffs? Just ISO JJ. That's a guaranteed bucket. Can't even play him in the fourth quarter." I don't disagree with that.
That was true in the Boston series. That was not true in the Toronto series.
No, not at all. And here's what I'm saying, Sandman. Half the time, Seth Curry wasn't even in the right position.
Yeah.
Team defense. JJ Redick is not stopping anybody, but at least he knows where to be out there on the floor, where I think Seth Curry knew where to be, but he wouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. And that's why I felt like I could trust JJ Redick more. I'm not asking either one of them to stop anybody.
Ultimately, Maxey's number one here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like number one with a bullet.
Right. It's not even close.
God, looking at this box score for Game 5 against Atlanta. All right, I'm going to see if you can blind guess. All right. Joel scored 37. He had 37, 13, and 5, 12 of 20. Seth had 36, 7, and 2 steals, 13 and 19. So they combined for 73 points.
Right.
How much did the rest of the roster combine?
This was Game 5?
Game 5.
73 between those two?
73 between those two.
I would say 27.
33.
Okay.
8 points from Ben Simmons, 4 from Tobias, 8 from Furkan. That's the rest of your starting lineup.
Unbelievable.
The bench, 6 points from Matisse, 5 from Shake, 2 from George Hill.
Unbelievable.
That's the extent of your point production. Now, look,
on the road, by the way.
Seth and Joel were killing in the 2-man game, so there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for other people. But to not get more than that, it's not like you were playing a defensive juggernaut.
Especially when you know, again, you get 36 from Seth Curry, you need to win that basketball game. You also know, even though he has the hot hand, at some point, the defense is shifting to him to slow him down. Hey, all-star Ben Simmons, you want to do something here?
Ben Simmons took 4 shots.
Exactly.
And was 4 of 14 from the free throw line.
That was the game where they're like, you know what? Hack a Ben, let's send him to the line. let's have at it.
He still was a +7, so there is that. Tobias Harris, the only starter with a minus next to his name, -10.
Speaking of 12, we got to talk about the small forward, the power forward, and the center, backup center position on the other side. Having some fun here on this Tuesday. The Joel Embiid starting 5 of his teammates, all here in Philadelphia. Who are they so far? We split on the point guard side. Kyle went with James Harden. I went with Ben Simmons. We agreed on Tyrese Maxey at the shooting guard position. How about the 3 and the 4, as well as the backup 5, even though Joel Embiid is manning the starting role at the center position? Who's the backup 5 and who's the head coach? We'll get into all of that on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics, live from the Xfinity Lounge. And I got to tell you about my good people from Rothman Orthopedics. Yes. We got some somewhat good news, as we talked about yesterday, with the starting all pro guard there,
everything. Landon Dickerson.
Landon Dickerson can play the center position, can play the left guard position. That's how good he is. Well, if you're dealing with something as serious as that, well, it seems like it's just knee injury, maybe meniscus surgery that he has to have, but also something maybe a little bit minor from aches and pains after a pickup game, some old injuries that flare up that won't go away. That back is still bothering you, that you're like, you know what? I'm tough. I can get through it, until it starts to bother you again. You got to go visit Rothman Orthopedics. That's where they come in. Rothman's team of experts, they're here to help with evidence-based care and commitment to restoring your mobility. They'll get you back out there stronger than ever. Rothman's specialists are here to treat what's holding you back. Their top-tier care will have you moving and enjoying every minute of the summer like you were supposed to, especially with things winding down here now in August. Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. 3 right here located in Philadelphia, in Center City, Northeast Philly, and the newest one at the Navy Yard. All easy to get to, very well taken care of when you go there, courtesy of the great people from Rothman Orthopedics. Of course, I am a walking billboard for Rothman for my ACL and my Achilles. That's why I'm able to talk about it and ask you to go if you're in need of some care as well. So if you are dealing with some injuries, pain is slowing you down this season, take that first step. Head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. Rothman Orthopedics, your summer, your mobility, their mission.
Hey guys, we got to also tell you about our good friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Believe it or not, back to school season is almost here. In fact, for my relatives who live in the southern states, back to school has already arrived. Their kids are posting pictures and their new outfits.
2 weeks ago.
I don't have kids myself to be heading back to class, but it's still a great time to take advantage of seasonal deals like office supplies, new clothes, tech upgrades, everything in between. So you plan ahead with your TrueMark Financial Credit Union debit card that earns rewards every time that I swipe my card and choose credit on purchases, whether it's a new planner, headphones, just some everyday essentials, whatever it might be. I'm earning points on all those purchases. Those points can be redeemed for cash, gift cards, travel, merchandise, and more. Travel big time. Devon knows I got some trips coming up in the near future that I'm very excited about. So I've got my eye on how am I going to use those points to enhance our travel experience. And if you're already a TrueMark Financial Credit Union member, be sure to check out your debit card benefits before you hit the stores or start shopping online. If you're not a member yet, now's a great time to join. Just stop by one of TrueMark Financial's 24 branches or visit TrueMark.com to open an account. TrueMark Financial Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on this Tuesday. We got to tell you about Do That Dental, and the bright smile of the day goes to, let's go to my buddy, our friend of the show, Mike Morak.
Hey.
The coordinator of the great Danny Rumph Classic that took place this.
Devon's got the jersey on over there.
I have a jersey. So
real bright smiles.
Yes.
That pearly white jersey over there.
So Mike, Miss Candy, who's Danny Rumph's mother, Uncle Marcus, who is also, just a big part of what they do for the community at the Daniel E. Rumph II.com and the Daniel E. Rumph Foundation of putting things together. They put on a great weekend, a great event once again that lasted from the 7th to the 11th, so Thursday through Monday with the championship last night. Blue Magic won, and it was a fantastic game that went down to the wire.
Devon said it seemed like it was going to be a stinker at
It was
halftime,
a blowout,
and then a huge
Thought it was
comeback.
a blowout, and it was a great
I wish
comeback.
I had been there. I just came back from
Jet lag, man.
and all the
You were there last year, so
the laundry and all the
Yeah.
dealing with financial or insurance benefits packages I had to look through, all kinds of other not fun stuff. I would have much rather been at the Rumph.
Yeah, so the Rumph was great once again, and it's not always about the huge names that are there. It's about the people like Mike Muscandy, Uncle Marcus, and the people in the stands
And the cause.
and the sponsorships, everybody that comes through for the cause of helping out the community. Not only do they do the game, everyone always knows about the game and the tournament that runs through the weekend. It's also about the heart screenings that they do a year round, the back to school that they do, the turkey giveaways that they give away around Thanksgiving, helping out the community overall, the things that we talked about with Victory on North as well, where Mike and a lot of people make sure that they put together for kids to go out there and play and learn the game of basketball. Aaron Owens, AO, is one of the main coaches there and helps out overall. So a little bit different for us, where we talk about a Sixers thing or an NBA thing with one of these that we give away for a bright smile or something else. But today we wanted to give it to Mike and Miss Candy and Uncle Marcus and everyone at the Danny Rumph Classic once again for
a
putting
Philadelphia institution.
For putting on a great show once again for what they did this past weekend. So if you couldn't make it this year, that's okay. You can make it next year. And just want to also point out that it was the 20th annual Danny Rumph Classic.
That's awesome.
It's great. So if you couldn't make it this year, make it next year. We'll all go together. It's a big family picnic. It's a big family reunion. It's an institution, like Kyle talked about. It's one of the best, if not the best, pro-ams in the country. And it was great. So our Do That Dental Bright Smile, a lot of smiles at Drexel University this weekend, and especially last night to close out the weekend. That goes to Mike Morak, Miss Candy, Uncle Marcus, and the Danny Rumph Classic, the foundation that they have. So great work to them once again.
Thank you, Do That.
Thank you, Do That. Some great smiles there as well. All right, let's get to the final three positions and the head coach. Small forward. Who do we have?
This one's easy.
This one's easy. And it was only like, how many games? Did you check and see how many games it was? I'll type it up.
I actually did not, but it's Jimmy Butler.
It's Jimmy Butler.
And I know that for the duration of his career, he's probably more in the shooting guard.
55 games.
55 games plus playoffs of Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy's been more of a hybrid shooting guard, small forward, and certainly early in his career was more pure too. But he played a good amount of small forward here.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I would say he played almost exclusively small forward in terms of who was on the floor with
JJ
him.
Redick was the two guard.
And look, Jimmy's ability to do just about everything, handle the ball. He's a great cutter, good, versatile defender. Although we did see in the regular season, he had some selective commitment during the regular season that
would drive you crazy a little.
It did, but certainly dialed it up in important moments and in the playoffs. Was a big shot maker the regular season and in the playoffs. And the crime of it all was that it only lasted those 55 games plus the playoffs, because I think everyone looked at not just the on-court product, but the charisma, the swagger, the attitude, all the things that he brought to that team that frankly they just didn't have and didn't really have in the years after that. I think they see some of that with Tyrese Maxey, but he's not anywhere near the force of personality that Jimmy has been, and has up to this point not proven to be able to be like I'm just going to pick people up and drag them to the finish line type of guy. So yeah, this one is Jimmy pretty easily. So it's another one where you say, well, who's number two and who's in competition for the undercards, the honorable mentions, because Jimmy was so good.
Yeah, Jimmy easily there.
That it's like everyone else is competing for second place.
For me, it was Robert Covington at that second spot behind Jimmy Butler. Coming from the rebuild era, unknown of what he would turn out to be, became an all-NBA defender, a really good three-point shooter. And Robert Covington was an easy number two behind Jimmy Butler because of those things. And he was also the key part of getting Jimmy Butler here and that deal that went down with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was the one that he had to be in that trade going back to Minnesota to help out Minnesota secure their
certainly wasn't Jared
5.
Bayless driving the value.
No,
of
it
that
was
trade.
not. No, it was not. So Robert Covington for me was easily number 2. Robert Covington for you, or did you have someone else?
Yeah, I think it's him because the version of Danny Green that they got, and Danny, again, he was pretty purely a shooting guard most of his career.
Yes.
But by the time he got here, and you go back and you look at the lineups that were on the floor, the most common starting lineup the year that they were the 1 seed was Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Seth Curry, and Danny Green. Danny Green's the small forward in that lineup.
Right.
So if you had gotten Danny Green 3 years prior, I think there would have been a pretty strong case it was him. And he was a very solid starter given, his limitations and his age and whatnot. But I think the version of Covington that Embiid and the Sixers got was better than that version of Danny Green. I know that Cov wasn't perfect, basically couldn't dribble the ball, which was a problem. And he was never a lockdown one-on-one guy, right?
Yeah.
And you saw that show up in the 2018 Boston series. That was a big issue where you're hoping that he can guard, the Tatums, the Terry Rozier, frankly, like some of these other role players at the time, and just couldn't do it. But as an off-ball disruptor, weak side rim protector, doing all that type of stuff, Cov was really, really good. And so, yeah, I tend to agree that he's probably the second best guy, which is not ultra inspiring, right? Because Cov was a solid player, but he wasn't like a special player.
No.
But certainly a great diamond in the rough signing that turned into much more.
That certainly worked out. So Jimmy Butler at the 3 spot here. And the lineup with Joel Embiid. Let's get to the power forward position.
Now, this is the one I'm very curious what you're going to do here because I know you don't want to pick 12.
12
but I'm not sure you have an option that's
12 played
12.
5 years in the lineup with him, had some really good years where he averaged basically right there around 20 points a game. And I thought 1 year he should have made the All-Star team over Ben Simmons. I think it was the last year that Ben Simmons was here. I thought he should have made the All-Star team over Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons got the nod because he made that push, but it's easily
your favorite push, the pre-All-Star push.
Yes, yeah. It's easily Tobias Harris here at the power forward position. And this one isn't even close to the other names that we tried to run off and think about with this position. It's not a competition.
It's like it's early career Dario.
No.
It's Mike Scott.
No.
Ersan Ilyasova.
No.
Right, that's what I mean.
Nick Batum for the year
so
last
Nick
year.
Batum, again, if you had gotten Nick Batum 5 years earlier, easily, right? Like I'd take him. The problem for Tobias here is that he made too much money. It's not that he wasn't a productive player.
Because he was.
He was. If he had been making $15 million a year, boy, what a signing that would have been.
Even if he made 20 a year.
Yeah, they would have been fine, and he would have been giving enough to the team. They also wouldn't have been anchored to him in the same way where it's like, we got to close with him, right? Like, he's got to be in the lineup. And I think that was also a secondary problem of that contract is you pay this guy all this money. No coach is going to, in crunch time of a game, say, hey, go sit over there on the bench so, whoever can man your spot. So a lot of the problem was because he took $180 million from them, again, not his fault, he had to be a foundational level player and was not. Part of the reason, though, that they didn't have any better power forwards is because they spent $180 million on this guy. And it's like, that's all right. He's got it covered. He can take care of it. And that ended up being a huge, huge problem. So I think that's the main reason that he's number one.
It's because
no one else was able to be signed.
Yeah, yeah. Even when we were talking about the Daryl Morey job that he has done, and it was more positive than negative, we backed up Daryl Morey for a lot of things that he did with the drafting and so on and so forth. The one real knock was you hung on to Tobias Harris too long, where you probably should have moved him at some point, maybe 2 years earlier. And maybe there was another power forward that we would be talking about in this case, but He was there for 5 years, and he was really, really good during the regular season where he would put up some really good numbers. But what mattered at this point, especially at the point where the Sixers were, where we're already talking about 50 wins is a guarantee for the 76ers. Everybody, all right, let's see who can make the All-Star team. You know, Simmons and Embiid are going to be in the conversation. Can anyone else sneak in there from Harden, Harris, Maxey, JJ Redick? Could anybody else sneak in there? Jimmy Butler? Can anybody else sneak in there? The main thing was the playoffs and who else was going to show up in the postseason. And when you do have that anchor of that $180 million, no one cared about how much he was making per year. Mm-hmm. The 180 was his jersey number. It wasn't 12. It was 180 on the back with Harris over top of that, because he can never shed that.
Crumble man.
Unless he did something. unless he did something in the postseason, he was never going to shed that 180. Yeah. Now, for me, after a while, I let it go because it was what it was.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do about it. Do something in the playoffs. And the problem was, even though he is cemented at that power forward position for this exercise, the problem was the 3-point game, the 4-point game that you mentioned, like that one in Game 5.
And it never came with like, all right, he scored 4 points, but he had 16 rebounds, right. Or he did something that was like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, you didn't score,
but boy, you did something else. You found ways to help win.
Here's the other thing I would say here, and he didn't play there enough for this to be a thing. I always wonder how differently everything unfolds if the Markelle Fultz pick works out, like he doesn't have all the weirdness happen, and Simmons does become more of a power forward, where the issue with him with Jimmy running the point in the playoffs is that Jimmy doesn't like to shoot threes either, right? He is very much like a downhill draw fouls type of lead guard, or small forward, point forward in this case for this exercise. So that's not allowing Ben to do basically anything. If you have a 3-level scorer guard, so that would be Fultz in this example, but also just say Tyrese Maxey comes in earlier. Mm-hmm. What does Ben's career look like? Is he willing to step to the side and like, I'm going to play the position I played in high school and my year in college, and will I find, or can we create an ecosystem where that works and he becomes, more of you're the power forward and you're head and shoulders better than these other guys? I don't know. We'll never know what that version of reality looks like, but I think about that often when I think about all the horrible power forwards or lack of power forwards we've had to watch.
Yeah. Rob Thompson brings up the 0-point game. That's what I mean. It was too many single digit games and big moments.
That's a single digit, all right.
Yeah, too many of those big moments, man. I'll never forget. I was on the radio. You were at your spot, but we're all sitting there. James Harden made this in Game 6. James Harden makes this. It's not a full court, but it was basically like a 80-foot pass down the floor. Harris was streaking, caught it, went to lay it up and blew it. He basically didn't take a shot the rest of the game. And this is in the first quarter. And I'll never forget that, because with Tatum struggling, the offense not doing, Harden couldn't score. Melton and Niang weren't hitting the shots when Harden was finding them in the second half. It's calling for your third leading scorer to do his thing. And he just couldn't, or the fourth leading scorer to do his thing. And
let's move on, man. This is so depressing.
Yeah. So
12. Let's talk about a much more inspiring topic. The best backup centers of the Joel Embiid era.
To Joel Embiid, who's in this obvious starting 5, the best backup 5. I only had 2 names. I'm sure you only had 2 names. Just a matter of who's the one. Dwight Howard, Andre Drummond. Who's the best backup 5?
So to be clear to the listeners and the viewers, it's Andre Drummond from the 21-22 season, where he played very well.
He did
that year.
Had to be traded.
And was part of that package to bring Harden in. But that version of Drummond was why when they signed him last summer, it's like, oh, gang's getting back together. Andre Drummond back in town, turns out.
Because that was a half a season, right?
Yes. Turns out that didn't work out too well. So I think it's between him and the year they got out of Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's main issues were, one, fouling. That guy he just hammered people left and right, and then was like, he would commit like a borderline flagrant.
I didn't do it
once or twice a game, and then turn to the ref and be like,
I didn't do it.
What did you see there, sir? Like, that always killed me. But the real problem for Dwight was that Doc at that point was trying to do some staggering with Joel and Ben. And when he did, Ben and Dwight is an absolutely nuclear level bad offensive combination.
Yep.
Negative floor spacing. Now, Ben's passing and athleticism are still good enough at that point to still make some plays. But we saw in the playoffs, you saw at times in the regular season, when you tried to play those guys together, it was just horrendous. But that's not... I don't blame the backup center in that spot, right?
No.
It's Dwight Howard. You knew what you were getting.
You
It's
signed
a rim.
him. Exactly.
It's a rim running, rim protecting center.
Rebound.
He was good at the job. He rebounded the ball.
He can play when Joel was out and
Yeah.
and give you some good run in those games. And that's you knew what you were getting. It was just tough to play with Ben Simmons. I leaned Dwight Howard.
I think I probably leaned
this
Dwight
one.
as well.
Yeah, but Drummond half the season, that half a season before he was traded was really, really good. All right, let's wind up with the other candidates that we threw out there.
That's, I mean,
Boban was a candidate that I see SB's talking about. No Greg Monroe? Mayor Johnson? No? All right, my bad.
I'm extremely good on this. Dwight was averaging, now granted, per 36 is, right. But he was averaging like 17 and a half rebounds per 36. Just raw total or raw averages. He averaged almost 8.5 rebounds in 17 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And that's always been one of their big problems, right? So to have a backup center that was like, I put that guy out there. And same thing with Drummond, right? Drummond is also one of the great rebounders. And so that is part of what you need at that spot with how their rosters have been built. So
I thought the beauty, too, of Howard was you're talking about a Hall of Famer who accepted the role at that point 100%. Of his career. And he came in and he knew exactly what he was doing, knew exactly what he was coming into. And he filled that role perfectly, I thought, in his time here for the Sixers. All right, let's get to the head coach. He's had 3. Brown, Rivers,
I honestly
and Nurse.
think it's Brett.
I had Brett.
I think
too.
it's Brett.
I did too.
I know people have all kinds of issues with Brett, and I caught lots of flack at the time for being
I didn't
not
love
even
Brett
like
Brown.
super pro Brett, but at least like I think people are getting it wrong why they have certain issues. But I think by and large, they had a real offensive identity. Defensively, I think the main problem was there was no flexibility, right? It was we play drop. That's what's best for Joel. And there were times when you just let guys get going early and they killed you. And if they had just been a little bit more adaptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they said, tonight against this opponent, we're going to have Joel show high. We're going to blitz. We're going to be better about tagging rollers. And like some of the details were cleaner when they did try to do different stuff. I think it would be pretty clear. He also, quite frankly, outcoached Nick Nurse for most of that series against Toronto, right?
I thought he did a pretty good job.
And like Nurse had a good adjustment with the playing Ibaka more and doing the double bigs. But like Brett did a very good job in that series. And I just think the overall identity of the team allowed them to toggle between styles in a way that they haven't since. Doc had better teams because he had James Harden for that year and a half, and that allowed them to have, more success and win a little more games. And probably I thought they were the team, that 23 team, with the best chance of actually making noise. But he also had got a better version of Joel, right? He got the best version of that guy. So I think it's Brett for me. I don't feel great about it.
I don't think it's a wide margin.
Yeah.
I think it's close, but I do lean Brett Brown in this scenario here. Doc Rivers was really good, I thought, for Joel Embiid and the rest of them, but I lean Brett Brown in this one. It's unfortunate. Nick Nurse just, the last 2 years, just they haven't done it. By the way,
he's almost like an incomplete grade.
Overtime here quickly here at the PHLY, of course, Sixers, allphly.com. Thanks on the television side. We'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. It's Brett. Brett's problem was the issue that he ran into becoming a general manager, making decisions that summer.
that was, that's a whole different.
That's a whole different thing. People felt like certain things with his coaching in game at times where he didn't do enough. But that's every coach, unless you're, and look, in Doc Rivers' case, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a top 15 all-time head coach as voted. But we got on him about stuff. So, but I think it's Brett Brown in this one, but it's close with Doc Rivers because of what we saw as the number one.
They all
seed.
have issues. No, none of these guys are Phil Jackson.
No.
And to bring up the Doc thing, none of these guys are Greg Popovich.
Greg Popovich either. You're going to ask him that question? No, it's not. So yeah. So all right, folks.
And I will say, I wish that we had gotten healthy Joel, or at least an approximation of healthy Joel the last 2 years, because that opening stretch with Nick Nurse, I thought they were running much more purposeful offense. Certainly Joel was playing the best basketball of his career. But the lack of success and innovation and inventiveness since then has really soured me on Nurse. So I hope that if they get some health this year, we see a little bit more of the start of his tenure, Nick Nurse, and not so much of what we've seen the last year and a half or so.
Absolutely. Let's see how Joel Embiid's career closes out. Let's see how Nick Nurse makes his adjustments with Joel Embiid, having to maybe change a little bit at the latter part of his years, and see where things go from there. So, folks, for us, point guard position, we did swap it a little bit as we talk about it. I went with Ben Simmons at the point guard position. Kyle went with James Harden. Everywhere else across the board, we agreed on the 2, 3, 4, and backup 5.
Look at Bree making graphics on the fly as we're doing the show.
That's why she is the greatest.
Unbelievable.
And that's why she is the best. And that's why we are a team, because Bree does those great things on the fly like that. And I'm sure that'll be on our social media channel as well at PHLY_Sixers on Twitter. So make sure you look out for that. We'll have people see who had the best team. I guess they'll vote. It's only one position. It's the point guard position of which team you think for the Joel Embiid era as the 5 there for the Sixers.
And by the way, Devon, maybe you don't care about the Sixers at this point. You want to start thinking about some hockey.
Yes.
Where would you go if you want to really celebrate some hockey and some Flyers?
Well,
do you have any ideas?
Yes, I do. And that is the PHLY Flyers road trip to Anaheim.
Ooh.
Everyone to Anaheim. Last year they went to Canada, and they had a great time and a great turnout with all the people that decided to go with them on the trip. And for this one, ready for the ultimate Flyers getaway, everybody. PHLY and Philly Sports Trips, the great Vince from Philly Sports Trips. We have Vince here at PHLY and Vince running things at Philly Sports Trips. They're taking the diehards west for the California takeover with Flyers legend John LeClair on the trip. John LeClair.
The Legion of Doom.
On the trip. Everybody. So if you want to hang out with them on the trip from March 17th to the 22nd, where they are hitting the West Coast for 2 huge games. First, the Anaheim Ducks at the Honda Center, and then the LA Kings at the Crypto.com Arena. Your package will include optional round-trip direct flights from Philadelphia, a 5-night stay at the beautiful Sanborn, Santa Monica, group tickets to both games, a Flyers watch party, and an exclusive meet and greet with John LeClair. Plus, the Philly Sports Trip crew will be there to handle every detail so you can just enjoy the sun, the sights, and some hockey, hopefully some winning hockey with the orange and black. This is the California vacation every Flyers fan dreams of, with a couple of wins to top it off. So spots are limited. Book your trip today at allphly.com/events. Once again, that's allphly.com/events. That's a great one. Putting that together.
Some warm weather, couple games.
2 games, John LeClair.
Not too shabby.
That's not bad in March. We want to get away from some cold weather.
We have a super chat.
We have a
couple super chats. So who do you want to go to first?
Your call. Go for it.
Let's say Jacob. Jacob came in here toward the end, said, I would have put Ben at the 3 or the 4 instead of the 1. We did just kind of talk about that during the, I don't know if you were here for that part of the discussion, Jacob, where I said that one of my main hypotheticals or what ifs is what if they had gotten a 3-level scoring guard early and moved Ben into that forward spot. But I think when he played forward on the teams that were any good, I don't think he was all that effective, right? Like
Part of the
best
reason
example,
why Jimmy Butler had to leave.
yes,
is because of that.
That series against Toronto is just Ben standing in the dunker spot, right? So while if you're just saying best teammates and you're not worrying about position, like 5 guys,
Simmons
he 100%
is
in there.
You just move him around, right?
But if you're saying, all right, I have to pick someone from this bucket of guys at the position, then so that's how we did it. That's all it is. But yeah, Ben, for all his issues, and I have brought those up many times on this podcast, is certainly one of Joel's best teammates pretty easily.
Without question. Without question. Thanks for the super chat. Jacob, Mr. Sandman, Bring Me a Dream, says asking Embiid his opinion on building the team makes no sense. Embiid doesn't even know how to play the game. He makes ridiculous turnovers constantly.
I don't know who was asking him.
I don't know
about the team. I don't know if the Sixers.
Oftentimes he stays out of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say he actually specifically says that's those guys' jobs and says those guys.
Yeah, he may voice something like we need some more toughness and points out the Miami Heat series. Therefore,
I honestly think
Tucker,
the one time he really advocated for anybody was PJ Tucker, and that actually plays into the point from Mr. Sandman. Like maybe just keep him out of the personnel
I don't think he was
decisions.
wrong with what he was pointing out.
What he wanted.
Yeah.
Just the wrong guy at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, you can even go into the Bradley Beal stuff. Was that real? All of that.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work out in Phoenix. That doesn't mean it wouldn't have worked out here with Maxey running the point and Bradley Beal being the 2. But
I'm not a Beal guy.
No, I know. I know that. But to just he stays out of stuff. He really does. That's one thing that I think we both can say, that he really doesn't involve himself in those things. Yes. They talk to him because he's the franchise player. He's the face of the franchise. You include your franchise face in any big decisions that are going down. Paul George is one of them. You do make him run at Paul George.
We didn't even bring up Paul George because his first year
they
was
played
so
like
bad.
10 games together. So you don't even include Paul George in it. So, Mr. Sandman, Jacob, thank you for the super chats. We're shouting you out right now as we get ready to go into the world famous roll call. Thank you, Sandman.
No bright smiles for Simo the Savage today, unfortunately. But thank you to everybody for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
In the Xfinity Lounge. A nice, beautiful day here.
Look at that.
Thank you to my girl, Winona. Thank you to Eugene Ross.
What up,
Thank you
Gene?
to Lee Nguyen. Thank you to, and I think I learned this yesterday, thank you to Theo.
Yes.
Who's going by a different alias.
Because
of YouTube. Don't blame us.
Come on, YouTube.
Thank you to Jay of the Jungle.
What up,
Thank
Jay?
you to Brian Knight.
B-Night.
Is it just notice or just not ice? The world may never know.
I'll just go, what up, Ice?
There you go. You decided. D Flyers. We got Val. Thank you, Val, for checking in.
Good to see you, Val.
The Court Jester 007.
Look at that.
Look at that. Money Mar.
They're hanging out with us.
Music Lover 31, who goes by Superhero 18. Just loves the name, number. I respect it.
Love it.
You done messed up. Hey, Ron.
You done messed up, Aaron. Good stuff, Aaron. Good to see you.
The Derek Bodner still here. Not on vacation.
He's a fan of the show.
He is a fan of the show. So hello to Derek Bodner. Hello to Mom's grandchildren. What's up to Mom?
Hey, Mom.
Another loyal supporter and listener of the show.
She did want to tell everybody that while I was on vacation, she didn't want to think that she wasn't watching. She was definitely there. She wanted to also make sure Derek knew that.
All right.
Yes. Because Derek brought her up one day, and she was like, tell Derek I was there. I said, I will. All right.
See, Mom's always watching.
She's always
Never
there.
doubt, Mom.
Yeah.
Thank you to Rob Thompson. Thank you
Rob?
to
Purple Heart was there. I saw her.
Jess with the Purple Heart, who I believe is under a different
What's her name?
alter ego here. Beat Pump. Pump it up.
Pump it up. Segment of the day.
Who came in very first comment. BJ has no go-to move. So some things never change.
Pump it up. What
Beat
up,
Pump
pump it
at
up?
the top of the list of things that never change, apparently. Thank you to everybody who is here each and every day. Did I say Jay of the Jungle? I'll make sure
Yes,
I
you
said
did,
Jay
but
of the
we'll say it
Jungle.
again. What up, Jay?
Just in case, because sometimes I forget and I feel bad because that's our guy. Thank you, everyone, for being here, including people I didn't say. Please, on the way out, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button because super producer Bree always is holding it down on the back end, and it's a way to say thank you to Bree. Thank you to Provolone John, by the way, checking in right at the end here. But make sure you hit the thumbs up button to say thank you to Bree, making graphics, pulling up things, making camera cuts and transitions and all sorts of things happen because she's the
one
best.
and only.
We will be back tomorrow.
Look at Roki
3
says,
p.m.
Did I miss the best forwards? Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris were the forwards.
Because Jimmy Butler did play the 3 here, although he's mostly a shooting guard.
There you go.
Go back, listen, enjoy yourself. We will be back tomorrow for another show at 3 p.m. Don't be late. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.